And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, Gungans, droids, all you beautiful chaotic MOD components. It's great having you here inside the archives today, where we are digging through the archives, answer the question, did CG break their promise? There's been a lot of salt going on in Galaxy here, so bring that salt over here, grab yourself a cup of Java juice so we can wash that down a little bit. And we got a bit of conquest and chillin' action going down today. And of course, for beautiful co-commentary, we got Gary. Gary, say hi. No, he's deep in thoughts right now because we got to bring up this question here that I've been seeing a lot of hubbub about, especially the other day when we talked about CG basically going against their promises they made for the era battles, where people had an expectation, they bought characters, and oh, JK, we're not doing it anymore for this month. So a lot of weird stuff going on. And even in the comments of my video the other day, basically this comment came up as well in the comment section about, well, did they break their promise on conquest units as well? And people kind of feel a little disappointed. So while we get that conversation going, Gary, you are correct. Let's get some gameplay moving along. Currently in Sector 3, working on some target practice, no attackers, some defense. Maybe we'll do a little bit of Darth Vader in there. But if you guys don't know, well, you're about to know. I have to revisit my own stuff I make. I got my little spreadsheet here that has the tab for Conquest. If you're like me, and every single time Conquest comes around, you're like, wait, how did I do it before? I'll leave a link down below to my Ultimate Galaxy resource. And I do plan, Gary, right? We planned this weekend to finally update some other things that I've been needing to get around to. But anyways, let's see what we have here, and then we'll get to our conversation. Peace out. I know, let's pick them. Give me some cost commissions. Right now, my data sets are the following. We got some assertive command. I haven't gotten the weak spot, whatever it's called. So I'm kind of missing out on that. But right now, we got some mishmash of assertive command, second wind. Nice for saving stars, I guess. Offensive buff, stacking offense, and you can't see below my booty is thermal exhaust as well. So, all right, we're locked in. Let's see if our bad batch, oh, this is gonna be easy, right? Easy, barely an inconvenience, I would say. So let's get to our main focal point for why we are here today. The reason why we have gathered here, it's not just for the memes, it's not just for the dreams, but the real reason why we are here is to answer this question, or I should say discuss, did CG break their promise when it comes to how they handle their conquest units? Now, you know, we'll read this post in a second here. I can't even see anything. Gary, you gotta squeeze this down. Yeah, there we go. We gotta see some of the action that's going on here. When I scroll down a little bit, you know, this comment, I had to kind of like fact check even myself here. When I read this comment, we're 0-3 for their promise. And I had to check, are we actually 0-3? That conquest units aren't always going to be tied to an era. I hate that all three are raid characters. That's another thing we got to talk about. This raid is weird for a lot of different reasons, but one of them is basically this raid has 3 conquest units to get the best scores possible. But you know, we found ways to work it around. That questions, will CG take it away from us? Whole different point. Anyways, so far Jocasta can make a difference when it comes to scoring, though it's not 100% needed. I'm waiting for him to start making one-off characters again that have no connection to the current content pipeline, so that we get some lifters for characters, ships, and factions that need some love. And yeah, we can go on and on about our list of stuff that we would like to see. So first, I had to kind of fact check myself before we did this video here. This post came out about 8 months ago. Good job, Bad Batch. Where do Conquest characters and Galactic Legends fit into the schedule? We're mostly concerned about the Conquest thing because I have an overarching theory about why people are feeling maybe some burnout. Oh, again, maybe I'm overanalyzing the situation a little bit here. But before we get to that, I want to make sure we kind of fact check as to, oh, this is a Padme. No, yeah, they're going to get their butts kicked. Well, you try your best. Try your best. I'm not going to babysit you. Yeah, I don't know. You could try. You might need to bring in someone else to hop in here. But where do Conquest characters and Galactic Legends fit in their schedule? This was about 8 months ago. So this was right about after the time we got Luthen. Conquest characters will continue to be released at their current cadence, but are not tied to an era. And I think that's the part that's got people a little bit, that's a weird statement after all these months of seeing your Conquest units. While occasionally, let's just wait for the final score here. While occasionally a Conquest character will line up with an era's theme, they often will not. This lets us continue to release powerful one-off characters without being limited to our planned themes. So that one comment said 0-3, which is true for this year in terms of new announcements, right? Where first character we got was Jocasta new. All right, well, needed for the raid, needed for Jedi Vanguards, get the full potential out of Jedi Master Mace Windu. Then after that, We had, what was it? Oh, we're still working on it right now. SM-33, another Pirates Conquest unit required for the Order 66 raid, obviously super important. And then the third one has been confirmed to be Maz Kanata. All three of those tied to the raid and tied to the eras that are associated with it. So technically for this year, in terms of new Conquest units announced, 100%, these have been 0-3. But if we go, hey, they got the job done, you suck at the stars, though, thanks a lot. But we got to remember, when that post was made, that exact comment, we got to go back to what were the Conquest units after that. So I believe, again, that was before or after Luthen came out, and right before Ezra Bridger came out. And Ezra Bridger, well, that was kind of connected to, again, the era during that time with all the Ahsoka Tano, shenanigans and whatnot. And then after that, that's when we finally we broke up the monotony for a quick second. And we had Dark Side Vision Rey. And I think a lot of us could say we're kind of a big fan of her. Maybe not so much the Datacron that's going on right now. So if you take those two Conquest characters, maybe I'm missing one more here. If you take those two and these three this year, technically we're 1-4 if we really want to give a tally. So this is why this conversation piece has been going up, because people are like going back. They're fact-checking CG and all their promises where they said it's not tied to an era. Occasionally a Conquest character will line up with an era's theme. If you're 1-4, I think it sounds more it's occasionally a Conquest character will not line up with an era's theme. So this is, again, being brought up because, again, they made some promises, expectations, guidelines on the era battles. I feel like that's a bigger deal compared to this. I'm not too gung-ho about this. I'm not crying it's the end of the world so much about this, but there is something important I do want to bring up. But the reason why I think the other thing's more important, the era battle things, because, well, first and foremost, a lot of people are relying on a free-to-play aspect to maybe get better, rewards inside of Galactic Challenges, maybe trying to get that 4th, 5th star, relying on that stuff. And of course, people who spent money, well, they had that expectation. Well, if I buy this character, they told me I'm gonna get all these cool additional rewards inside of an immediately available era battle right after. So I think that's a bigger deal for those two reasons. This is not as big of a deal for me personally, from a perspective of just what they actually pick. But the thing that bothers me the most about the Conquest thing is that if it's taken away the magic of what made Conquest, yeah, they're getting their butts absolutely whooped right now. It's taken the magic of what made Conquest characters feel special, where it was the opportunity to do something completely out of left field, completely unexpected, lifting up a faction that just needed a little bit of love. Rebel Fighters, for example, although they're doing a great job banging away at my Bad Batch team here, it was a great way of just getting people excited. Like, I'm supposed to have the OMG, WTF, that's crazy. Remember when Dark Side Vision Rey was announced? We were like, holy cow, we were not expecting that. When Bane was announced, whoa, wasn't seeing that coming. Malgus, oh yeah! But I think the problem is we're moving away from that, and I fear that we're kind of heading into a direction where, look at the raids, for example. All right, we got to put someone else in there. The raids have been having this similar issue where they had the formula right? There was this cool, iconic character that was tied to it, and then they took that away when they started doing their new eras of raids. And that was kind of the magical thing about it. It's something we all can work collectively. It was super exciting to get it. My theory is why we're not getting exclusive raid characters, because they're kind of free-ish in a way, Whereas they could just sell the character, throw it in Conquest, which requires a lot of additional passes to be bought or whatever the case might be. So again, it's my theory. I can't really confirm or really deny why they stopped doing that. It was like what made Raid special. And again, other games, like even Raid Shadow Legends, that does that core classic Raid formula, they keep having iconic characters to pair along with them. So again, some really weird decisions that they're making over there when it comes to the raids. But now I feel like they're doing that with Conquest, and they're taking away that magical element of just being wowed. And it's supposed to be like an occasional thing when a lifter or whatever would be tied to an era. We're kind of moving against the grain to what we had before. And that's what people are starting to notice. And I think the problem is with all this, is that it makes it just feel like, oh man. Again, we're playing a Star Wars Galaxy Rules mobile game. There is a degree of hamster wheeliness, right? You're constantly in this hamster wheel, but it was nice when the monotony of just going through the motions was broken up by these things that really caught us off guard, right? And when you kind of take it a little bit further from that point, then, this is something that I extrapolated the other day, and it just leads to, I think, the problem of monotony is what I'm trying to get at here. where even the events in Galaxy of Heroes, it feels like we're getting, basically, let me put it this way. You get a new marquee unit. You have the marquee battle. You got the era battle. What's the era battle? Well, it's basically just like a longer marquee event, right? With some better rewards. And then the raids feel like it's just an even bigger version of a marquee event or a bigger version of the era battle where you only can play this if you have these specific characters. So we're losing the agency, the wow factor that things like the raids or other content had in the past. And I think the other problem is maybe just coming down to just maybe the new era system in general. In that same post, if we go back up there real quick to the post that we have, this is when they announced for the first time their new era system. Now, when we first did this, it really wasn't too much of a surprise to me. It just felt like basically it's the same amount of characters that are coming out on a yearly basis, but just more an official structured format. Whereas before, we didn't really have like a set era, but we were still kind of following an era-like system where we would kind of be within a certain theme for 3 months or so. There'd be a conquest unit, right? So we kind of had it before, but now it feels like everything's getting a little too formulaic. Is that really the right way I'm trying to say it? Just formulaic. Okay, gotta do a little reset, a little Scatman reset. Feeling a little too formulaic. A little too hamster wheelish. It's just, you're just constantly on this grind, and we're losing the magical moments that make Star Wars Galaxy Heroes exciting. And conquest units, again, I didn't think there was a way to mess up conquest units, but I am myself too. I'm missing getting those characters that are just absolutely wow factor. Like, I want this because I actually want it, not because it's being forced onto me to do it, or else I can't do the raid, or I can't use this new galactic legend and whatnot. So, CG, if you're watching this, you know, obviously you got to commit to your pirates. You know, don't get me started on that. The whole Hondo versus Ahsoka thing, what a complete night and day difference, where Ahsoka was dragged on for 6 months and she had no special Smuggler's Run event or some special, you know, like a Leia event, or, you know, the Job event, which is a Smuggler's Run, right? No raid. And Hondo, he's being blitzed out in 2-3 months. We were told that he's coming out next month, right? He's got the era battle. He's got his Smuggler's Run required in the raid, whole different thing. But anyways, we're getting off track here. We're getting off the conquest path here. But basically what's going on here is that we know you got to stick to what you have planned at the Pirates. And I get you guys already have planned what's beyond that too, right? So again, I don't know when we're going to kind of get back, or if we are going to get back to going back to the original philosophy of Conquest, where it was more of a rarity to see a character tied to an era, a galactic legend, a new team. And I'm hoping we can go back to the Conquest units after this whole Maz Kanata business, getting back to bringing those Dark Side Vision Rays, the Luthans, things of that nature, Malgus. Oh my gosh. Again, I want to make it clear that now, sometimes there's going to be off years. This might be kind of one of those off years for Galaxies, but let's not forget, well, to be fair, it was before the whole era system. We had an amazing run of banging conquest units, right? And they're trying something different, maybe. Trying something that maybe makes more sense to them from a financial perspective. I'm not sure what it looks like on their end, but if it's anything that's kind of reflecting what we might be feeling, you know, again, I'm speaking on behalf of me, myself, and I, and maybe some of you people out there. Maybe there's maybe they're seeing that, okay, we got to go back to what made Conquest characters special. But again, I think going back to what I said, that everything just kind of feels like a marquee, then a marquee plus, a marquee plus plus. They're making sure that every character that comes out, you feel like you need to get it. Does that make sense? You need to get it, or else you're going to miss out on all the era battle awards. You're going to miss out on a new galactic legend. You're going to miss out on the raid. Whereas, yes, that has to be true for a game like this, right? But I think there needs to be a degree of you want this. Like, you generally want it. You had this team that's sitting around. Like, imagine if Krennic got like a Conquest lifter and you made like an ISB team. People would go freaking nuts. That's a team that's just sitting around collecting dust. You just brought it to life instead of just always bringing a new team. Hold that thought for a second. Critical debuffs. Give me another cost commissions, whatever. Lock it in. But basically, it's sort of like Omicron. Even Omicrons, my gosh, we can go on and on about this. Like Omicrons, people were super excited about them when they came out. It was an Omicron, the original design that we had for it. It was meant to lift up teams that just needed the love, right? Qui-Gon Jinn, oh my gosh, super cool. The Wampas, you guys know the Omicron to do it. And now we moved way beyond that, where now it's very rare to get an Omicron for a legacy character, a team that needs some help. But it's always like every new character, every new team needs to have 3, 6, 9 Omicrons on them. So it always, I don't know, maybe there's a theme where they start off great and then it's like, we got to turn this around. That's a little bit more beneficial for us. But I don't know, it could just be me. But now I didn't think about the Omicron thing until just now. Again, it was just like, now it's a rarity to get the Omicron that we want. And now it feels like, is it going to be a rarity to get the conquest units that we want instead of being forced upon us to make sure we use them, or else the new teams are going to be trash? I don't know. Gary, what do you think? Thanks, Gary. It's like, man, I wish I could just understand and grasp the sheer amount of intellect that he has. Do you guys agree with him? Well, if you do, leave a like. If you don't agree with Gary, leave a like down below. Best of luck on your conquest grinding, my friends. Our last one before we unlock SM33. This is one other thing I want to point out, CG, since we're on the topic of conquest units. I don't think myself and many people are crazy about going for a conquest unit and we can't use it when we unlock them right away in their ideal setup. Because the biggest problem that I have with that too is that, well, people are just straight up basically gambling, hoping they're going to be good. Whereas, if we had the team right away, we can test it out. People could say, oh, okay, that looks cool. I might spend some money in the next conquest, whatever. I push a little bit harder for it so I don't have to do proving grounds or whatever the case might be. I just don't like the fact, like, Jocasta knew we got her. I couldn't really use her to her full capacity until Jedi Masterpiece window. What was that, 2-3 months? SM33, we don't even have the full pirates in here yet, although we are going to have the GoH Quiggled here not too long down the road, so maybe we'll have the full power of SM33 fully operational. And then Maz Kanata, like, do I need to wait for more stuff after unlock? I have a feeling that she'll probably have her stuff ready to go, but CG, if you can, at the very minimum, when we unlock a conquest unit, don't make people wait too long. That's one of the worst feelings about this game. You spend money, you get a character, free to play, whatever, and it's like, all right, it's just gonna sit here for a couple months, and they're trying to rectify that through things like air battles, and they take them away, anyways. So you guys let me know, did CG break their promise? Maybe we got to give it a full year, but just based off the loose math that we've done, I would say that so far their statement that the conquest era, or the conquest units, it's gonna be rare when they tie it to an era, seems to not have been panning out well, with Darkside Vision Ray being the only oddball. And I feel like that has been the most exciting unit. But don't get me wrong, Ezra Bridger, banging character too. He's like, so it's okay if you bring units that are banging, they're great plug-and-play stuff. Darkside Vision Ray, Ezra Bridger were slam dunks. I could say for certain that this year, I just feel like we haven't started off strong with conquest units. But man, trying to top the 2020, late 2023, 2024 conquest units, what a great run of stuff that we've had. But anyways, that's all I got for you beautiful people today. Thank you for stopping by. Hope you guys get the best data discs possible inside your conquest grind. And until we meet again, always remember, it's great to be a Gary today.